Hi, I've finally got round to starting a full run through of Stanley Kubrick's works. He's, I think, my favourite director. And as a result, I watched for the first time Fear and Desire, his 1953 debut. It's a film that was out of circulation for a very long time. It was only released properly in the last 6 or 7 years. And it was meant as a kind of experimental, almost art house war story. We're introduced to four men who have survived a plane crash into enemy territory. They're trying to get back behind the lines again, concocting a scheme involving sailing a raft along the river. But along the way, they encounter numerous obstacles. There's a general's headquarters nearby that they decide they want to try and attack. A young woman stumbles across them and they have to tie her up so that she doesn't give them away. And one of their numbers starts to crack under the strain of being behind enemy lines. It's a film that Kubrick felt was amateurish. He didn't believe that it portrayed him in a good light because it was a practice movie. I've mentioned this before, the idea of your first film, you're allowed that one as a practice. If it doesn't turn out well, that's okay. You can get another shot. If it turns out great, then great. But with Fear and Desire, that was Kubrick's practice movie. And watching it now in retrospect of all his other films, because this is the last one of his films that I haven't seen, it's not that good. It does feel a bit amateurish. It does feel cheap, although that was kind of necessity. There are 6 actors, I think, in the whole film. It's all filmed on location in the woods in, I think, upstate New York. Um, but there are moments that really um, are signifiers, I think, of where Kubrick's talent was going to move. There's a scene where the soldiers attack and overcome two enemy soldiers who are in the midst of having a meal. And as a result of the budgetary restrictions and the fact that the enemy soldiers are played by the same actors as our hero soldiers, uh, the scene is filmed as intercut between close-ups on our soldiers' faces as they loom in to attack and stab the enemy, and close-ups on the enemy's hands as they flex in their death throes or food is spilled from the table onto them. So the use of editing and close-up is very reminiscent of the way Kubrick's um, film style will develop, having also come from the direction uh, from which it originated. Um, Kubrick had started out in firstly as a street photographer, getting a contract with Life magazine, and that had then developed into making documentary shorts, 3 of which are included on the Blu-ray. Um, Day of the Fight, which is about a day leading up to the boxer's next major match. The Flying Padre, about a priest with a diocese so colossal in the southwest United States that he actually needs a private plane to get around. And The Seafarers, a half-hour recruitment film for the Seamen's International Union, extolling the virtues of all the benefits that union membership can provide. And these films are very much, they feel like they're in the Kubrick style. They have that sort of somewhat dispassionate attitude to them. They have the voiceover that Kubrick loved so much, that interest in faces. And you can see that carried over into Fear and Desire, the way that close ups are used so intensely, the staring face that Kubrick became so enamored with. You can see it in later films like Jack Nicholson staring out of the window in The Shining, or Private Pyle staring into space in Full Metal Jacket. So Fear and Desire is not a great film. It's brisk, I will give it that. It's an hour and 2 minutes. And it's making a point about how war is anathema to human nature, that under the strain of war, people will crack because it's something that human beings aren't just not created for. We're not capable of involving ourselves in something so monstrous and inhuman as war. But as a practice film, it's fascinating. So if you're interested in the development of Kubrick's artistic style, it's definitely worth seeing. Otherwise, however, probably not.